Hello everyone and welcome to the Plug in India channel. Boy, do we have something special for you today. I have with me Mr. Shashidhar KJ, and he's a journalist, a true blue journalist, at least 7 years in the field.
Yeah.
And he used to work for the Observer Research Foundation and a lot of big names in the print and the media industry. So Shashi is on a spree. He's going to be doing a lot of research, and that's what his basic qualification is. He's a researcher, and he'll be coming out with stories in the near future, which we will be tuned to, and we'll be talking about these two things. So first of all, Shashi, welcome to the Plug in India challenge. And
Nice.
please introduce yourself a little bit. Tell us what you've been doing and how you reached here.
I have worked with a number of publications over my career. I worked with the Times of India. I started my career with the Times of India. My proper introduction to reporting was actually banking reporting, where I reported for the Financial Express. So I kind of, so it was a strange journey for me, where I kind of saw the rise of fintechs, and that's where I gave a lot of my research, and I followed that story quite closely. Then I worked for a publication called Media Lama, where I really kind of came into my own a little bit, where it came to reporting on fintech. Following that, I worked for another publication called The Ken, which was a Bangalore-based outfit, which is forming a successful subscription-based model, and they're doing well. But after that, I wanted to change gears a little bit in my career, and I worked for the Observer Research Foundation, which is a policy think tank based in Delhi, and they have offices in Bombay as well. My time at Observer Research Foundation was really good. The way I explain my job as a think tank policy researcher looking at technologies, I kind of just say that I read terms and conditions. Nowadays, I'm trying my hand at freelance reporting and trying to figure out the next part of my career. So yeah.
Coming back to our first story, our favorite segment. This is something that people really watch because they want to know what's really happening. This is the real life EV story, and we are going to talk about your Ather 450X.
So I bought my Ather 450X in February 2021. So what happened was I used to stay in Mumbai for quite a long period of time, and when the pandemic hit, I had to move to Bangalore to stay with my family. In Mumbai, I never had any need for personal transportation, because I've always you had
Yeah,
the
the public
trains.
transport is awesome.
Yeah.
Trains and buses. And
Yeah, trains and buses kind of took care of everything. If I needed an auto,
Yeah.
I'd take an auto.
Same here.
And if I needed a car or something, I could call a taxi or whatever and get whatever I wanted. But the situation in Hyderabad was different. The public transportation is not up to mark, and you do need another vehicle. So my wife and I went down to a local Honda dealership, and they told me the price of an Activa was about 1 lakh. And my jaw dropped at that point of time. Because I had a Honda Dio when I was growing up, when I was in college. A Honda Dio at that point of time was 40,000 or something, and I was like, and
Double the price and more.
yeah, more than double. And I was like, why? And it made no sense. And petrol prices were through the roof, and that was one of the things which actually really influenced my decision to actually go for an EV. Because if I'm paying about 1 lakh for a scooter, and you would get a mileage of 30 or 35 on an Activa or something like that. It didn't make any sense to me to go for a petrol vehicle. So I had a word with a friend of mine, and he's working with Ather, and he gave me some inside view about how he saw the market at that point of time. He told me to check out the Chetak and the TVS iQube as well, in addition to the Ather. Yeah, but the problem at that point of time was that Bajaj wasn't expanding to Hyderabad yet, and I don't think TVS had the iQube available in Hyderabad yet. So Ather had just opened their showroom, and it was in the city. So we went there, and I test drive the vehicle, and I fell in love with it. Like it was immediate, and so the salesman at the showroom told me to try out the walk mode. That just changed my perspective about EVs completely, and I came back. I did a small round, and I came back. And I wanted to know what the waiting period was. The salesman was, "You can take it off right now."
Lucky, very lucky.
And I was very tempted to my wife. I had to like pull her back and say, "Stop."
Think about it.
Think about it a little bit more. But it was. I don't know why he was. Probably it was because the dealership was just opening and they were just getting their order books in, and they had some stock left, and they could kind of just tell customers to kind of just take it off the ramp. But eventually my wife and I talked it over, and we said, okay, fine, this makes sense, and we could get the vehicle. And we haven't regretted it at all, and it's just been such a joy for us to ride. The amusing thing is that after we got married, we decided to move to Goa. And then when we finally made the move to Goa and we got our Ather, and it was such a joy to ride because the vehicle is so responsive, particularly when it comes to the acceleration, the throttle. The handling is a joy, and we both had gotten very used to the handling and the brakes and the suspension of the Ather. These are I would say the vehicle's strong points. The suspension is superb, and the brakes are fantastic, and the handling is so well suited for both of us. Though and we could really see the difference. And one of the things what happened to us is because we moved to Goa, we started to use the scooter a lot more because everything's far away in Goa. And then again, there is no public transport, so you have to rely on your personal transportation itself. So that's been our journey so far, and we really love the scooter, and we don't think, I don't know if I could, different people would have different needs for different vehicles and whatnot. But if you'd ask me right now, if anyone comes and tells me that they were thinking of a scooter, I would strongly push them to go buy an electric scooter instead.
Awesome.
I would give them the pros and cons of a whole bunch of things, but I would tell them, if you're thinking about getting a scooter, it makes the most sense to get an electric scooter rather than a petrol scooter.
You know, the new Ather has come Gen 3.
Yeah.
And they've given a bunch of upgrades.
Yeah.
What are the ones which you'd want on your 450X?
Oh,
and why?
No, I saw the Ather Gen 3 video and I was furious. I was absolutely furious at that point of time because it had everything that I wanted. From the new Ather Gen 3 has everything that I actually wanted. One of the things that I discovered riding in Goa is, particularly in the monsoons, is that the tires are a weak point. The very slick tires that they put on so that they could get more
Yeah, the
range.
performance tires. Yeah.
Yeah, it's not really safe at all.
The low riding resistance
yeah.
ones. You want
Yeah.
ones with more friction.
You want something with a little bit more grip, because what happened was I was riding once on a bridge and there were crosswinds and the scooter actually
Right.
wobbled a little bit, and that's extremely unsafe. Um, um, that was a pretty bad thing. So when
Correct.
the
Yes.
when they announced that they're getting new tires, I was
Yeah,
like,
those performance
wait,
ones with-
yeah, the performance tires which had more grip. I was like,
This is what
damn it, that's what I want. And the second thing is that they announced that they are coming out with a new battery pack, which gives
Which
you
one?
that very important psychological feeling of, a range of 105 kilometers of promise.
3 digits.
Yeah, the 3-digit marker. And I was furious because that's what I'd been telling my friend who was working at Ather as well, that this is what you need. You've got to give me more than 100. That just puts people's minds at ease. That it can do 100 kilometers on one charge, it can really do a lot of things. And for me, it kind of particularly stung in Goa because I would like to take my vehicle out for like
Yeah.
different rides and whatnot. I actually drove down to the dealership and asked them, can I get a battery upgrade and can I get the tires upgraded? They said we can do the tires but we can't do the battery.
Okay.
And they said if you want the new thing you have to buy a new vehicle, and that really annoyed me. And the thing which really annoyed me was that I wouldn't be eligible for the FAME subsidy
Right.
if I bought another Ather again.
Correct. Because
Yeah.
you've done with your first vehicle.
Yeah, I'm done with my first vehicle. So yeah, that's been a little bit more thing, but
Yeah.
I don't know how to get that message across to Tarun Mehta. He hasn't responded to my emails yet.
We hope somebody watching will forward this to us.
Yeah, for me, like a lot of people with EVs have always said that you won't actually experience too many breakdowns because there are less moving parts. So I haven't had that many breakdowns, to be honest. I think I've had 3 breakdowns and all of them were minor. One was when during the pandemic, I think the fuse in my charger burnt out, but I wasn't able to repair it because Ather had difficulty.
Shut down shop, yeah.
I had to shut down shop.
They weren't getting spares.
Yeah, they weren't getting spares, and I wasn't able to travel to the dealership to get it fixed as well. But so that took a couple of months. But as soon as I took my charger that day, it was literally 15 minutes. They fixed it and it got done. The second breakdown happened again in Goa because Goa also has a lot of fluctuations in power fluctuations. So the fuse again burnt out. And I took it to the dealership, and again within 15 minutes they fixed the charger again and got it out. The other breakdown was once when this was our fault. We had been riding around the entire we had gone out for a ride, we had met a couple of friends and we were exploring a few places and whatnot. So the battery ran out once and we weren't able to kind of estimate things as well, because the nature of Goa's terrain is you have a lot of ups and downs,
hilly,
and the terrain changes kind of range your battery a little bit more. So we managed to get just 1 kilometer short of our home where we could actually charge it. So I just had to push the vehicle for 1 kilometer more. But apart from that, it's not been that bit of an issue. But when it comes to repairs, I kind of see the problem, and that's where the genesis of this story, which kind of started off what I'm reporting on right now,
Yeah.
which is looking at EV repairs and how things are being done. Because of Goa's power fluctuations and power situation, my wife's laptop burnt out and she had to go give it for repairs. Incidentally, uh, the shop where she gave her repairs to, the owner of the shop said, I've been doing a couple of repairs for chargers for EVs. And that kind of gave me like an aha moment.
Yeah.
And was like, okay, wait, let's go see what this gentleman's story is. So I spoke to him and he told me a number of very interesting things that, it's just basic electronics for him. His name is Rognlo Norona in Mapsa. And he said that it just came down to a whole bunch of things where he could replace a couple of circuit boards, and that wasn't a big deal for him. And so yeah, he's had about 4 or 6 customers. He said that who come with EV problems,
Awesome.
EV charger problems, and he's able to fix them because he knows his craft.
Electronics, yeah.
Yeah, and I've been going around Bombay, and I have to hit Pune as well, and kind of try to see where the EV repair ecosystem is at the moment. So yeah.
Awesome. Yeah, I mean, kind of I would corroborate that because our experience with the E2O was similar. Once we got out into the open market, for the earlier years, we were also quite scared. We never went beyond the OEM and official
Yeah.
authorized service centers.
Yeah.
But then once we started getting out there, we found that replacement parts, rear view mirrors, everything is available with different models of cars. A Renault, for instance, or Maruti disc brakes. I mean, it says Maruti. I don't know whether it's the same company, but those kind of things are all common.
Yeah.
So those mechanicals can be done.
Yeah.
So yeah, and even the electronics, as you said,
Yeah.
where I feel we do have a bit of an issue is proprietary software.
Yeah.
Where once our cars get plugged into the laptop,
Yeah.
and that's when they diagnose the cells and stuff, we have no access to that kind of software except at the OEM.
That's true, and that's actually one of the things which has been niggling at my head. This is because one of the things I used to write about technology policy, and one of the things that you are worried about a lot of things is when it comes to access to your data itself, which is a big problem when you think about what's happening with EVs. You bought the vehicle, but there's no access to the data which you are actually getting. For me, it's Ather gives out some information, right? It gives a little bit about your battery usage. It gives you a little bit about your power usage, how much drains
On the dash itself,
Yeah,
on
on
the
the
app,
dash
yeah.
itself, on the app itself. But there's a lot more things which is being collected. I mean, if I remember, Ather has about 46 sensors on the vehicle. What are these 46 sensors collecting, right? That's a whole thing. I don't even know what sensors are there on my vehicle as well at this point of time.
Yeah.
And it's the same thing which I kind of see when it comes to mobile phones as well. There are a whole bunch of sensors that we aren't even aware that they are there. One example which I'd like to usually give is when we look at our mobile phones, there is a gyroscopic sensor which is used a lot for everything from your
Movement.
for motion, any movement, right? Any
Movement,
movement which is
everything, yeah.
done for your step counter apps to Google Maps as well, where they are actually keeping a track of your gyroscope.
In which direction you're
Yeah.
moving in.
There is no way you can disable it on your phones. If you notice, you've got different ways. You can switch off your Bluetooth, you can switch off your Wi-Fi, you can switch off your GPS, but there is no
Button.
there's no button
Software
which can
switch, yeah.
software switch to kind of switch off your gyroscope. on your phone. So that's the thing which I'm more worried about, because that itself can collect a whole lot of data about users. When you're coming to EVs, there's a ton of data again which is being collected. We've heard about the vast amounts of data, terabytes of data that Teslas are collecting about how drivers are using, and feeding it into their own algorithms. But you don't know how that's being used. So that's where I'm most interested in. When I'm looking at electric vehicles, I kind of view them more as digital devices rather than automotive vehicles. In the sense that this bleed has been is going to become a lot more pronounced, and you will, the way I kind of look at it, because it's important to get the policy right when it comes to EVs. Because this bleed of technology is going to be a lot more. It's important for customers, it's important for users as well to have a little bit more ownership over their data and what's actually being
right. So
yeah.
Some tool should be there which allows us to collect that data as well.
Yeah.
Sometimes we don't mind companies having it.
Yeah.
A good diagnostic requires all of this.
Yeah.
That's where, yeah.
I mean, in a lot of technology policy circles, a lot of people say, "Oh, we need to have a right to explanation." When it comes to artificial intelligence algorithms, a lot of people say that, "Oh, the algorithm needs to provide an explanation to why it did this in a particular way."
Right.
Right. That sort of thing has to kind of translate to EVs as well. In a lot of sense, you don't really have what I've kind of discovered through my reporting is a lot of people have been saying that they have no idea why the software behaved in a particular way.
Right. It's kind of erratic, and they attribute it to things like artificial intelligence. My car is sentient. I mean, just the other day, Abhishek wrote down about more than 100 kilometers in his brand new Nexon EV.
Yeah.
And because he wasn't able to know exactly why he was getting the range he's getting, he said, it's sentient in its own way.
Yeah.
So, I mean, that's the kind of feeling that you get back. But this is the underlying thing.
Yeah,
which you don't know why it's behaving.
I mean, there's no thing as sentient software as much as popular media
just that
promotes.
this quirky behavior doesn't lend itself easily to explanation. So we attribute it to. That's the thing. I mean, that is touching upon a lot. It's not just the EVs. I would say even the petrol vehicles now are really app connected, and they have all these. The Mahindra XUV 700 has so many sensors. I mean, I go to the workshop, I see them working at that with their CAN buses and the laptops and stuff. So all over, this is something that we must be concerned about, especially for EVs, because they're so software driven. Yeah, particularly the bigger concern is which I also kind of look at EVs. I really am worried about the security aspect of things. Yeah.
Because it's so software driven, it's so easy for people to kind of find an exploit in your vehicle or in the software and kind of shut down your vehicle while you're riding it or driving it. And it's a lot of people have much more knowledgeable people and much more smarter people than me have commented about it and written about these exploits which you can do with vehicles.
Bugs and hacks. Control somebody else's vehicle. It's kind of very scary to think about all of these things. I mean, these things which are pushed as features by a lot of companies. When you look at Teslas and say, "Oh, you don't need a key anymore." You can just enter in with the fob. The key fob itself will detect and open for you, and proximity sensors.
Those proximity sensors and everything. Those are just based on Bluetooth technology. And Bluetooth technology is not the most secure technology which you can easily get into. I mean,
Yeah.
there's a really nice video by this another set of YouTubers called Donut Media, which shows how they can easily hack into a Tesla.
And yeah, your $20,000, $30,000 car
Yeah.
can just be
Buy some guy with about $5 worth of Bluetooth equipment he can buy off the internet. So yeah, it's a bit scary when you think about the amount of the attack surface for vehicles. I mean, for digital devices,
Yeah.
kind of exponentially increases when you look at EVs. That's a thing which I'm more concerned about, in the sense that right now the whole policy ecosystem right now is geared towards promoting EVs, but it's great. It's wonderful.
Yeah, we
that
don't have an issue with that at all. But,
Yeah.
but there are concerns.
But they're going forward, it's going to be a lot more dangerous for people with the current levels of policy making and current levels of thinking within the companies itself. That they're not thinking of these things as things that you need to fix immediately, right? And
Right.
before they don't snowball into a big, much
Yeah.
more bigger problem. The other stark thing which is kind of stuck to me is when you were talking about right to repair. If you go through the government's policy when it comes to recycling batteries,
Ah.
it only applies to lead acid batteries.
Yeah, they haven't factored in lithium-ion.
Lithium-ion
It's too
batteries.
new, yeah.
Yeah. And if you think about all of electronic waste right now, a lot of it is lithium-ion batteries itself right now.
Every cell phone.
Every cell phone, every laptop, every other device which is there.
And then all the
right
EVs
now.
which will come in.
Yeah. And it's surprising that the government has kind of come out with this new policy. They have come out with a new policy
But-
which is looking at fixing a bunch of things. And the government has a new environment policy, which is talking a little bit about the circular economy in terms of trying to make things a little bit more repairable and pushing, nudging companies to make things more, extend products beyond their expected life.
End of life. Like you
Yeah.
want to see
Yeah.
it go all the way from what you would call cradle to grave.
Yeah.
So that entire thing.
Yeah, it's good to see that the government's kind of
producer responsibility, EPR.
Yeah, it's good to see that the government's pushing for this in directions, but on one side it's great. On the other side, they forget to put lithium-ion batteries
Yeah.
in terms,
Which is going to be one of the biggest things.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and of course the problem with lithium-ion batteries again is it's going to be
Yeah.
a lot more difficult for you to recycle those batteries itself in some way.
Okay, so on an aside, I'd also like to talk about, say, a big company like Apple, for instance. Now, they've been very vocal about privacy, digital rights, and they've been doing some things which, at least in the public eye, is very unfavorable from their own government's point of view. It's a US-based company, and they also have been working towards right to repair. I mean, Apple originally is a company made by hackers. I mean, what was Mr. Wozniak and, of course, Mr. Jobs.
Yeah.
So, but then we saw it go through this kind of a phase where it became a very small number of people which would use their products. They became very controlling, full tight integration.
Yeah.
But now again, coming back to their computers, I can actually see every year on year, it's more and more serviceable,
Yeah.
more and more repairable. Still, I feel that it's not, in a way, it's accessible to the common man. I mean, of course, Apple has never claimed to be a company for the common man. It's always for the discerning customer.
Yeah.
Yet they are one of the most valuable companies on the planet. But is that the kind of right to repair we want to see? Because you ask them for a repair kit, they'll send you this whole equipment which will help you pull off the batteries and this and that, and they do give you that.
Yeah.
But it's not accessible everywhere. It's not easy. But would you have an opinion or perspective on that?
I mean, I think it was a difference of philosophy in how they approach things. The way which Apple does things is, like you said, it's very integrated. everything has to fit in for
Yeah, the
each
hardware,
thing.
the software.
Yeah, and and it does give you a lot of gains in terms of efficiency for the device that you're doing. Say, for example, the new M1 processors which you have right now has got so many cores, and each core can dedicate itself for particular tasks. Right, that's fantastic. You don't have to rely on a graphic card anymore.
Right.
For your to get those
Exactly,
high
separate. Yeah.
you don't
can do
need
multiple tasks.
yeah, and that's what Apple's entire philosophy is. But the downside to that, of course, is that because it is also tightly integrated, anything goes wrong, you have to replace the entire thing,
Right.
and not possible.
Right.
Versus building a PC.
Correct. Which is so easy to
yeah.
just reconfigure, put a few boards, put in what you want.
And I think the Apple's a great company which has done things this way. And one of the things that they gained by tightly integrating all of this is that they also kind of kept a very tight control over their own product.
Right.
Versus you look at a Microsoft, which was their biggest competitor at that point of time, which kind of went closed source and then went open source
again.
and went through those entire thing. I mean,
trying to figure out which is best. Yeah.
I mean, people keep saying about when it comes to technology, it's always a question of bundling and unbundling.
Yeah.
So when it comes to Apple, Microsoft, they went the unbundling route and kind of let people do whatever they wanted with the PCs and whatnot, and therefore they managed to do something extraordinary in the sense that PCs became a much more favored platform for people to play video games on.
Correct.
Right?
Yeah.
Versus an Apple, which is trying really hard to get
into the gaming industry, with Apple Arcade and everything. But somehow they're not able to hack it. All the best games are still on Steam, and that runs great on the
Exactly.
PC. I mean, I do have Steam on my Mac.
Yeah.
But those games are not there. So.
Exactly. So that's
so the hackers, the creative thinkers.
Yeah. So and that's where the philosophy kind of differs between these companies, right? You've got one company which wants everything tightly integrated. The other one went for modular design.
Right.
And I kind of see that also kind of playing out with EVs a little bit.
Yeah, you're gonna have some Apples, you're gonna have some Microsofts. And that's what the whole right to repair thing.
Yeah. And it would be better for the consumer if it kind of went through the modular design rather than the tightly integrated thing where you're not able to see anything, you're not able to fix anything.
Exactly. It just becomes like a product or a commodity which does what it's designed for, but it does not then exceed its design specifications. And I think that's what life is about. It's organic. It's you grow.
Yeah, I mean, it also is very funny that it's only supposed to do what it's designed to, because that was what Steve Jobs said, right? When he kind of introduced his entire Macs. When he introduced his Macs, people asked him, why is there like a drawing software? It's not.
Yeah, what are you going to do with it? Or you wanted the word processor.
Yeah.
They wanted glorified typewriters in those days.
Yeah, but he showed people that with a mouse you can actually draw things.
Correct.
And you don't really see people talking about, complaining about,
we also spoke about another aspect, which is basically the reporting and journalism that's been happening, and these are the troubadours. They're the people who actually give the masses the information they need, and not everybody can go everywhere, do everything. So here we have this media which as EV owners, as EV community members, we found their reporting a little bit lacking, a little bit disconnected. I'd like to ask Shashi, as a member of the media himself, and what his analysis, what his thinking about the situation is, and what can happen.
Particularly when it comes to journalism, is that journalists are usually given companies that they have to follow, which is particular set of companies that they have to follow, and they develop sources within those particular companies and everything.
To be able to get the news and stuff.
And to extract information and see what's what, etc. So eventually there's a bit of a
relationship.
give and take relationship from
A loyalty kind of, which is natural and human. It's not something that.
And if you kind of see, I mean, not to knock on other journalists or whatever, if you kind of see a couple of journalists who are reporting for auto magazines, they have spent a lot of time in building those relationships with these manufacturers.
Right.
Now, the problem is when, and they've spent decades sitting and trying to understand this space, and suddenly you've got EVs, which is EVs are a completely different technology itself. For them to wrap around that entire understanding, it will take a little bit more time, I feel. So that there is it might seem like media bias. That you are particularly favorable towards ICE technologies.
Right.
But you've got to understand they have nothing else to compare it to.
Right. It's not like there was an earlier EV and then a new EV and like you have with the diesel petrol car. One company makes a car, they can compare it with another one because the technology is the same. It's the variation, I mean the flavor which has changed.
And that's something that they don't have anything else to compare it to. And right now the only benchmark they have probably is Tesla.
Right. That's the mainstream thing.
Which everyone knows. Everyone knows what a Tesla is and everything. And therefore they will, that's the only idea in the public consciousness right now.
Correct.
But we've got to understand India is a different country in the sense that EVs are probably going to propagate much more towards the two-wheeler side of things.
Right. 80% of us are two-wheelers. So.
So, and I think that's where people need to keep an eye on more. And that's where I think a lot more exciting things will happen.
Awesome. So guys, there you have it. We will see the media warming up, and as they understand and they use these vehicles a lot more, it's a whole new ball game out there. That's what Shashi is saying. And we've got a lot of new exciting things to look forward to. So thank you so much, Shashi. We've really enjoyed listening to your perspective, and I hope you guys have too. Write in, give us your comments, tell us if you have any more questions for Shashi. He's here with us. And thank you so much. Have a good day.